سلام، مهدیه نوری هستم و توی این ویدیو میخوایم با هم بریم سراغ قسمت اول از درس ششم کتاب American Headway سطح دوم. Unit 6, The Way I See It. In this lesson, we want to talk about comparative and superlative adjectives. We're going to learn some synonyms and antonyms and also talk about what's happening. Look at the picture of Mia. Describe her. For example, from the picture we can see that she's in her 20s, she has long black hair, she has beautiful eyes and beautiful smile, she is thin. What else can you say to describe Mia? Now look at these 4 questions and answers here and try to match them with these topics. For example, which question asks about her health? کدوم یک از این سوالا درباره سلامتی میا داره سوال میکنه؟ Which one uses like as a verb? کدوم داره از like به عنوان فعل استفاده میکنه؟ Which question asks for a physical description? کدومش ازتون میخواد که اون رو از نظر ظاهری توصیف کنید؟ Which question means tell me more about her? و کدوم سوال داره میگه که بیشتر راجع بهش برام بگو به خصوص از نظر شخصیتی؟
Question 1 uses like as a verb. Do you like Mia?
Yes, I do. I like her a lot.
Question 2 asks about her health. How is Mia?
She's doing very well.
Question 3 means tell me about her. What's Mia like?
She's really nice, very friendly.
And question 4 asks for a physical description. What does Mia look like?
She's tall with brown eyes and black hair. Now let's talk about the form of these questions. When you use what, to be, am, is, are, plus subject, plus verb, it means to tell me more about something, especially the characteristic of that thing or that person. یعنی بیاین از نظر خصوصیتی و از نظر کاراکتری راجع به یه شخصی صحبت کنید. What's your teacher like?
She is very patient.
معلمت چه جور آدمیه؟ خیلی آدم صبوریه. What are his parents like?
They're very kind.
What was your vacation like?
Wonderful. We swam a lot.
What were the beaches like?
Okay, but a little small.
دقت کنید که am, is, are فاعل و بعد like. We don't use like in the answer. ما like رو توی جواب استفاده نمی کنیم. میگیم she's patient. اون صبوره. نمیگیم she's like patient. هیچ وقت این like رو توی جواب نیارید. 2. Like in this question is a preposition, not a verb. What's Jim like? Like اینجا حرف اضافه است. فعل نیست. He is intelligent and kind and very good looking. 3. In these sentences, like is a verb. تو این جمله ها like نقش فعل رو داره. What does Jim like? جیم چه جور چیزی رو دوست داره؟ He likes motorcycles and playing tennis. هم موتورسیکلت ها رو دوست داره و هم تنیس بازی کردن. What blah blah like means describe somebody or something. Tell me about it. I don't know anything about it. همین سوالی که اینجا خوندیم یعنی بیا برام توصیفش کن. How's your mother? Asks about her health. اینکه مادرت چطوره داره راجع به سلامتیش میپرسه. It doesn't ask for a description. ازتون توصیف نمیخواد. How's your mother? She's doing well. Thank you. Now match a question in A with an answer in B.
1. What's your teacher like?
She's great. She helps us a lot.
2. What sports do you like?
Bike riding and skiing.
3. What does your brother look like?
He has blonde hair and blue eyes.
4. Do you like pizza?
I love it.
5. What's the weather like today?
Beautiful, warm and sunny.
6. How are your parents?
They're okay. Busy as usual. Busy as usual یعنی طبق معمول سرشون شلوغه. Now let's practice this. What's it like? Mia often travels for her job. She's talking to her friend Tom about Shanghai. Listen and complete Tom's questions.
Track 20. What's it like?
What's Shanghai like?
It's very big and noisy, but it's very exciting.
What's the food like?
It's the best in the world. I just love Chinese food.
What are the people like?
They're very friendly, and they really want to do business.
What was the weather like?
When I was there, it was hot and humid.
What are the buildings like?
There are new buildings everywhere. But if you look hard, you can still find some older ones too.
What's Shanghai like?
یعنی شانگهای چه جور جاییه؟ It's very big and noisy, but it's very exciting.
What's the food like?
It's the best in the world. I just love Chinese food.
What are the people like?
They're very friendly and they really want to do business.
What was the weather like?
When I was there, it was hot and humid.
What are the buildings like?
There are new buildings everywhere, but if you look hard, you can still find some older ones too. What's the food like? غذاش چجوریه؟ What are the people like? چجور مردمی داره؟ آدماش چجورین؟ هوا چجوری بود؟ پس این توبیه میتونه was و یا were در گذشته هم باشه. و what are the buildings like؟ ساختموناش چجورین؟ حالا شما میتونین همین سوالا رو درباره شهر خودتون جواب بدین و اونو برای ما کامنت کنید. Now, Mia also went to Singapore and Dubai. Listen to her and complete the sentences about the things she says.
Track 21. Singapore, Shanghai, and Dubai.
What did you think of Singapore? What's it like?
Well, Singapore is very old. It's older than Shanghai, but it's a lot smaller. Shanghai has a population of 20 million, and it's enormous. Shanghai is much bigger than Singapore, and it's much noisier too.
Oh, okay. What about business? What's it like to do business in these places?
Well, they're both top financial centers, but Singapore is more important. It's better for investment.
Ah, right. And the buildings? Are they all new?
Yeah. There are a lot of new buildings in Shanghai, so it's more modern than Singapore, but it isn't as cosmopolitan as Singapore. Half the population of Singapore is foreigners.
Wow. Really? What about Dubai? What's that like?
Dubai is the newest and youngest city, and it's the most modern. I like it because it has a can-do feel to it.
What about the climate in these places? What was the weather like?
It's interesting. Singapore is near the equator, so it's a lot hotter than Shanghai. But it isn't as hot as Dubai. Dubai is the hottest place. When I was there, the temperature was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, that's incredible.
Singapore is very humid, so it's wetter than Shanghai. But Dubai is the driest. It only rains for a few days a year.
Where did you like most of all? Where was the best for you?
For me, Shanghai is the best because it's the busiest and the most exciting. There are so many things to do. The best restaurants, theaters, stores. It has everything.
The city.
Singapore is older than Shanghai, but it's a lot smaller. Shanghai is much bigger than Singapore and much noisier too.
Business.
They're both top financial centers, but Singapore is more important. It's better for investment.
Buildings and people.
Shanghai is more modern than Singapore, but it isn't as cosmopolitan. Dubai is the newest and the youngest city, and it's the most modern.
Climate.
Singapore is a lot hotter than Shanghai. But it isn't as hot as Dubai. Dubai is the hottest place. Singapore is very humid, so it's wetter than Shanghai. But Dubai is the driest. It rains only a few days a year.
Which is best?
For me, Shanghai is the best because it's the busiest and the most exciting.
We're going to talk about comparative and superlative adjectives. Actually, we studied them before in the previous book, But this time we're gonna study them more completely. By the way, equator. این لغت equator رو توی listening شنیدید، به معنی خط استوا هستش. Equator. Now the grammar part. We have already studied comparative and superlative adjectives, but let's review them. For short adjectives, we use ER for comparative form. For example, cheap, cheaper, small, smaller, big, bigger. For superlative form, we use EST. Cheapest, smallest, biggest. Comparative مقایسه دو تا چیز بود. مثلا میگیم Pride is cheaper than BMW. Pride از BMW ارزون تره. و superlative مقایسه یک نمونه با کل نمونه ها بود. مثلا میگیم Pride is the cheapest car. Pride ارزون ترین ماشینه. برای short adjective ها این قانونمون بود، یعنی صفت های کوچولو. Adjectives that end in y. تمام صفت هایی که به y ختم میشن هم از همین قانون پیروی میکنن. Funny, funnier, funniest. Early, earlier, earliest. Heavy, heavier, heaviest. Adjectives with two syllables or more. صفت هایی که دو بخش و بیشتر دارن. For comparative, we use more before the adjective and superlative most. Like careful, more careful, most careful. Boring, more boring, most boring. And irregular adjectives. یه چند تا صفت بیقاعده. Far, farther or further, farthest, the furthest. Good, better, best. Bad, worse, worst. For the short adjectives that end with consonant, vowel, consonant, double the last consonant. برای این صفت‌ها اگر که این مدلیه که آخرش به خصوص یه دونه واول و یه دونه کانسوننت دارین، توی نوشتن این دو فرم باید کانسوننت یعنی حرف صامتش رو 2 تا کنید. می‌بینید که bigger 2 تا G و biggest 2 تا G داره. Than is often used after a comparative adjective. بعد از این صفت‌های مقایسه‌ای ما گفتیم که از than استفاده می‌کنیم. I'm younger than Barbara. من از باربارا جوان‌ترم. Barbara is more intelligent than Sarah. باربارا از سارا باهوش‌تره. Much can come before the comparative to give emphasis. قبل از این صفت‌های comparative میتونید از یه much هم استفاده بکنید که بیاین تاکید بیشتری بکنید. She's much nicer than her sister. یعنی اون از خواهرش خیلی آدم نایس تریه. Is Tokyo much more modern than New York? توکیو خیلی از نیویورک جدید تره. They is used before superlative adjectives. they رو قبل از superlative adjective ها استفاده میکنیم. He is the funniest boy in the class. اون بامزه ترین پسر توی کلاسه. Which is the tallest building in the world? کدوم ساختمون از همه توی دنیا بلندتره؟ تا اینجا این درس ها رو قبلا با هم دیگه خونده بودیم. Comparatives compare one thing, person or action with another. صفت‌های مقایسه‌ای 2 تا چیز رو با هم مقایسه میکنن. She's taller than me. اون از من بلندتره. San Francisco is more expensive than San Diego. سان فرانسیسکو از سان دیگو گرونتره. We use superlative to compare somebody or something with the whole group. گفتیم superlative ها یه نفر رو با یه گروه مقایسه میکنیم. She is the tallest in the class. اون تو کلاس از همه بلندتره. It's the most expensive hotel in the world. اون گرونترین هتل توی کل دنیاست. Now, this is new. As shows that something is the same or equal. وقتی میخوایم نشون بدیم 2 نفر یا 2 تا چیز توی صفتی با هم برابرن، از adjective و as استفاده میکنیم. Jim's as tall as Peter. یعنی جیم و پیتر همقدن. جیم به بلندی پیتره. نه این بگین taller یا tallest. اون صفت باید ساده باشه. I'm as worried as you are. منم به اندازه تو نگرانم. پس از صفت از میگه که 2 تا چیز با هم یکسانن. Not as shows that something isn't the same or equal. خب وقتی یه not بذاریم قبلش نشون دهنده اینه که برابر نیستن. She isn't as tall as her mother. اون به قد بلندی مامانش نیست. He isn't as smart as me. اون به اندازه من باهوش نیست. این مثالا رو هم اینجا ببینید. It's a little bigger. اون اختلافی که اومدیم صحبت کردیم گفتیم میتونیم much رو قبل از صفتهای مقایسه‌ای استفاده بکنیم، قبل کامپراتیوا میتونید a little هم استفاده کنید، یه کوچولو بزرگتره، یا it's much bigger, a lot bigger یعنی خیلی بزرگتره. و it isn't as hot as Dubai. یه اشتباه هم اینجا هست که این نباید it's باشه. It isn't as hot as Dubai یعنی به گرمی دبی نیست. Listen and practice the sentences. این جمله ها رو گوش بدین و تکرار کنین.
Track 22. Pronunciation.
I'm older than Jane, but I'm not as old as John. He's the oldest.
And now listen and practice the conversation. حالا این conversation رو گوش بدین و تکرار کنین.
Track 23.
Who's smarter, you or Ben?
Me, of course. He's smart, but he isn't nearly as smart as me.
You yourself can practice this. For example, who's funnier, you or your best friend?
I'm funnier than my friend.
Who's more ambitious, you or your father?
I think my father is more ambitious than me.
But I think you are as ambitious as your father.
Maybe.
Track 24.
Who's kinder, you or Ben?
Me, of course. He's kind, but he isn't nearly as kind as me.
Who's funnier, you or Ben?
Me, of course. He's funny, but he isn't nearly as funny as me.
Who's better looking, you or Ben?
Me, of course. He's good looking, but he isn't nearly as good looking as me.
Who's more ambitious, you or Ben?
Me, of course. He's ambitious, but he isn't nearly as ambitious as me.
Comparing people. مقایسه کردن افراد. We have got 4 people here. Look at them. Pause the video. Complete these sentences about them.
One. Agnes has the largest family. She has the most children. Kevin doesn't have as many children as Agnes. He has only 2. 2. Marilu is the oldest. She is 41. Wilfredo is the youngest. He is only 25. Agnes is a little older than Kevin. She is 34 and he is 32. 3. Kevin works the longest hours, 60 hours a week. Agnes doesn't work as many hours as Kevin, but she still works hard. She works more than Wilfredo, who only works 35 hours a week. 4. Kevin earns the most. He has the highest salary. Marilu has the lowest salary. Wilfredo doesn't earn as much as Agnes. She earns almost twice as much as him. 5. Agnes has a bigger house than Marilu, but it isn't as big as Kevin's. He has a huge house, 6 bedrooms. Wilfredo has the smallest house.
Now, you yourself can compare the 2 women. For example, Agnes is younger than Marilo, or Agnes is more intelligent than her. Agnes is a lot happier than Marilo. Then, you can compare the 2 men.
Kevin is older than Wilfredo. Actually, Kevin is much older than Wilfredo. Kevin works longer than Wilfredo. Kevin is more ambitious than Wilfredo. But Wilfredo is more intelligent than Kevin.
Until here you practice comparative adjectives. با مقایسه های دوتایی صفتهای مقایسه رو تمرین کردید. Now, you can do it for all of them using superlative adjectives. For example, Marilo is the oldest.
Wilfredo is the youngest.
You can write your sentences for us. Comment them. رسیدیم به پایان بخش اول از درس 6. بریم با هم دیگه سراغ ویدیوی بعدی، بخش 2.